Franklin Roosevelt said, democracy cannot succeed unless those who express their choice are prepared to choose wisely. The real safeguard of democracy, therefore, is education. And that is why I'm using this podcast to remind you to grab the identity card so that you can be a voter in the next general election. That is what is going to change this country. And I believe that that is my civic duty as a Kenyan to remind you, and of course to do the civic education. Welcome to the bold analysis. And I believe that we're making an impact. William Samoei Arap Ruto, the then UDA party leader and the presidential candidate, committed a political blunder that he will regret in the next general election. And let me say that this statement that impeaching Rigathi Gachagua was a big mistake is actually an understatement. After inciting the young lads against the former president, and of course inciting them against what would be the kingpins and the kingpins by then, the way he handled the transition from government out is the mistake. And this is what I mean. The momentum building ahead of Rigathi Gachagua's new party to be launched in May is curiously showing his political muscle. And I can tell you, the Chungwa and Ruto handlers who are charged against Rigathi, who are actually running the tribalism charge against Rigathi, will agree with me that that narrative will be overtaken with the time. Rigathi might not become the president in 2027, but if you ignore his political muscle, then that will be high level of ignorance. You cannot ignore him. And I believe where he is a place where no one thought he would be there. So I want to describe to you the momentum building and the way the young politicians are raising their voices against the regime. That will show you the potential of that Rigathi's new party. Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell and like our videos. And as you can see there, if you subscribe, you'll be getting notifications. Subscription is absolutely free. So there is nothing going to be deducted from your account because you subscribe to a channel. But subscribing is being part of this great family. Today, look at this video.
George. Ogeni, mugamono. Ogeni kairi. Salama kabisa. Karibuni wa Nyoro. Hapa ni wa Nyoro yenyewe. Karibuni. Asante sana. Nyumba iko imara. Nyumba ndio ile bado umeona.
That is Linturi leading a delegation of young people from Meru to a Nyoro residence. I've taken time to even sample the photos. And if you read the mood of those who were led by Linturi, I can tell you that information is home. I am one person that do not appreciate I don't appreciate Linturi. I received a call some 2 days ago. An insider from the Ministry of Agriculture, where Linturi was, on what exactly happened on that fake agriculture scandal. And I can tell you that while Linturi was not involved in that scandal per se, but he knew how exactly the fake agriculture thing came about, but decided not to say the truth. Nevertheless, my opinion doesn't count much because politics is about perception. He's harvesting from Meru. This Meru County, and this harvest is very tricky because this Meru County is where President even had to impeach Kawira Mwangaza so that he can bring those male chauvinists together. I did warn that those male politicians from Meru who are celebrating Kawira's impeachment will start fighting each other for that job, as there is another information coming out that now the Meru MCS even now want to impeach the new governor. Hey, that usiende huko. I'll spoil that soup. The President Ruto was touted as a smart politician. But allow me to replace the word smart with overrated. There are so many silent voices against the regime, and there are too many to ignore. And again, too many, all of them to be wrong. The fact that people who are in that kitchen are the ones coming out and talking about the fact that something went wrong, it will be difficult for Ruto to explain that everything is right. Listen to Nyoro.
Kenya, we must be very prudent in the management of our debt. Whether we like it or not, that is a very great threat that we face as an economy. Ukiangalia fedha ambazo tunakopa kama nchi, I believe there is another better way we can manage our public resources bila kuongezea Wakenya hapo beleni madeni kubwa. Na tukisema hayo, tunasema pia tukioffer solutions. And I gave the other day, instead of borrowing money that we are borrowing, for example, and these are things that I used to say even when I was serving in the previous position. If you check in all the Hansards in parliament, I always used to raise these issues. Government assets exist to make money for the government. They do not exist as jewels. Zile assets ambazo serikali iko nazo, zingine hata hakuna fedha iliwekwa hapo.
Can you fresh your mind? The way Ndindi defended Ruto, first 1 year of Ruto regime. Ndindi, you know, were the key marketers of the bottom-up agenda. These were the people that were moving across the country telling Kenyans that economy is going to do well. Now, they're up in arms against the president. And I want to tell you, they have a higher believability. These things are happening. The voices, those who are coming out of that kitchen, it is on that basis that Rigathi's party is going to be formed. It's going to be a party of bombshells. Everyone can have a bombshell. And let me tell you, Justin Muturi, Kawira Mwangaza, Moses Kuria, and Moses Kuria, and those politicians I've mentioned, are on their way and have been invited for that party. That party launch. They're making their way there. I'm told even Kangata is having a soft spot for that party. Moses Kuria bolted out of the Shah sensitization forums since Duale landed in that health docket. Khalwale is also warming up for a new party and has not closed door for the Nyoro. And I can tell you, it is not going to be business as usual. The fellows who are supposed to be, of course, defending the president, the fact that people from that kitchen are the ones walking out and telling the people what's happening, it is not something light.
I have something to let Kenyans know. I will definitely do that. after this show, I have got something that I want Kenyans to know.
Ah.
I am going to expose it.
You don't want to give us the scoop?
No. After this show, immediately after this show, in the precincts of this media house,
Yes.
I am going to release something that Kenyans must know, and they should know, and nobody can stop me from doing that. And therefore, they should not disadvantage the young girls, the young talents, at the expense of wanting to punish Malala. Before I became a politician, I was a playwright.
Yes.
I have done 82 plays. This was my 82nd play.
Yes.
And therefore, this was not, if I wanted to settle political scores with any other administration, I would have done so. But I have not been using the Kenya National Drama Festivals to settle any score. That is my profession. That is my passion.
Yes.
And I want to say categorical that if I want to advance my political agenda, I know where to advance my political agenda. Kenyans, I think, are tolerant enough to look themselves in the mirror, laugh about it. We've had a very, very hard economic time in the recent past, and you've seen Kenyans joking about it on TikTok. You've seen comedians, but the leaders, the current leaders, and to be specific, the current president is not ready to look at himself in the mirror and be told the truth. That is why he's always very argumentative. He argues with everybody. He argues with his own ministers. He argues with the people. He argues with the Boda people. He argues with school children. He argues on everything. So Kenyans have got no problem. The problem at hand is the current leadership of the country, led by the president himself. Let him be tolerant enough to listen to advice. This is a person who advises his advisors on how to advise him. You know, he doesn't listen to anybody. He doesn't listen. And then when he's pushed to the wall, he comes up with this normal question. Am I mad? Am I a madman? Am I a madman? You know, you cannot be a president whereby you are arguing with yourself.
And is this why we're starting to see the slowing off of people, whether it's Malala, you know, a few months ago, whether it's CSs, whether it's deputy presidents?
And you see, everybody is sliding off because of that level of intolerance, of that domineering character that he has on his subjects. And you will see even more people. And I can tell you that we have more people in this government who have already switched off, who are just there for purposes of being there, waiting for their time to go out.
This is Malala. And but then let me tell you, those around Rigathi and those who have worked with the president, who are out, what they are saying must not be necessarily true. No. Let me tell you, not that everything Rigathi says is true, no. But you know what he has? He has a higher believability. These people that have worked with Ruto in the cabinet, they have a higher believability, especially when they come out and say Ruto is running a one-man show. This, as Rigathi have said, this Malala is saying, Mithika Linturi have said it. Everyone that have been in that cabinet have said he was running a one-man show. Even Aisha Jumwa. Yes. So keep it here. Mohamed Jichopevu. Some of the people walking out. And that is why, and if you want to, and in this podcast, I wanted to demonstrate to you the voice of young politicians. You need to remember that Sifuna has been consistent on ODM Raila Odinga's deal with William Ruto. And while Ruto believes that giving cabinet slots, there is this third line that people use that siku hizi pesa Kenya nalala Homa Bay. That's a joke. Kuna pesa hata inalala Homa Bay. Sifuna is maintaining his position that is having a marking scheme.
I think it is clear what the MOU specifies on the things that we were supposed to work together. And I think there are people who don't like me as SG reminding them what the actual content of the document is, because many of them have not even read that document. Mimi najua hiyo document vile inasema. Kuna vitu inasema lazima zifanyike, na most of the responsibility is actually on Kenya Kwanza, because they are the ones in power. So job yangu mimi nilisema niko na marking scheme. Kazi yangu ni kuangalia tu, si kuna 10 points pale. Hii ya kwanza mmefanya, hii ya pili mmefanya, hii ya tatu mmefanya. Tulisikizana counties zipewe 450 billion. Ukinipea 4 or 5 inamaanisha nini? Tulisikizana hakuna mambo ya kuabduct vijana. Ukiabduct mtu inamaanisha nini? Tulisikizana kwamba political parties ziheshimiwe na msiingilie mambo ya vyama vingine. Ukithreaten SG wa chama kingine inamaanisha nini? Umekiuka mkataba. Sasa mimi kazi yangu ni kuweka marking scheme. Na siku ile unajua kutakuwa na report card. So mimi kazi yangu ni kutoa, tunasema 10 points ndio hizi, out of 10 umepata 1. Nakupea E. So as SG I know that we have had largely successful elections in the grassroots. We are not saying that there have been no challenges. There have been challenges.
And one thing I can tell you, the likes of Sifuna, yes, they have their own voting constituency in Nairobi. They have their own personal view. But I think they carry a larger crown of being the Secretary General of the party. So when he speaks more like we see him more, we interpret his message more like an SG of the party than himself. And let me say this. If he wants to give his personal opinions, he will give to his friends, in his family, in his political, in the corridors. But when he's speaking in public, he's telling people, and people see ODM. He's saying, hakuna deal. Not all of us can be wrong. And this is why I'm saying, the Cherargei and Sudi, who are viciously defending the president, might not be able to handle the people coming out of that kitchen to say there is a problem. I have listened to a clip by Sudi. Sudi saying that he funded Malala's campaigns. I don't know, he funded Gachagwa's campaign, that Kogi interview. That Malala withdrew 5 million from UDA coffers, and so Malala is corrupt. And okay, listen to that.
Kwa sababu ingine ni ewa, ingine ni fitina. Umuulize Malala. Kwa sababu nilideal na Malala direct. Na umuulize kwa interview yako. Malala alikuwa ndaka kwa waziri. Malala kwanza tulimsupport sana kwa gavana wetu wa Kakamega. Tulipatia Malala pesa, kumbe alikuwa anajenga nyumba. Pesa? Tukimsaidia kwa campaign, kumbe alikuwa anachukua pesa anajenga nyumba. Hakufanya campaign. Wakati tumeshindwa, baraza anaapishwa, Malala anafungua nyumba mpya. That's number 1. Number 2, Malala alikuwa ndaka kwa waziri. Tulipigania yeye sana marafiki yake akuwe waziri. Ripoti yake ilikuja mbaya sana ya NIS. Na maneno mingi ikashindikana. Akapromisiwa kuwa PS. Ikashindikana. Akakuja akapewa kuwa SG. SG na unaingia kwa cabinet. Enda kwa chama ya UDA. Alikuwa wana withdraw more than 5 million every week. Malala ni mwizi. Tena bila akona uhuru wa withdraw kwa SG. Yes, SG ndio kila kitu. Okay. Kwa watu wote uniulize, Malala ni mwizi. Na ni mwizi ule afungi macho. Unaelewa? Ukiona mtu yote yako kwa serikali hata ya county, na alikuwa rafiki ya gavana, na alikuwa mtu yote, na ukisikia akona blackmail, tafuta kuna kasoro mahali hapo. Unajua Ngugi. Wewe unajua milioni 100 inajenga kilomita 2 ya barabara. Wewe unajua hivyo? Hata kilomita 2 na kitu. Unajua kuna watu wakipewa nafasi hata hawezi jenga toilet.
So swali ni je, kwani Sudi alitoa wapi hiyo pesa before that general election? Kwani how rich was Sudi before? I think he's made money, a bit of that extravagant money during this regime. And if Malala was corrupt, they have the investigative agencies under their arms. Why haven't they summoned Malala or maybe launched an investigation so that they can seek more answers on this? And does Ruto have the range to call someone corrupt, especially the Sudis? Now, the only people defending the president is Sudi and Cherargei. Sudi and Cherargei. Kila mtu amenyamaza. Even kina Sabina Chege. They're talking once when they go to media. Public, no. In fact, in the coast, the president doesn't have a defender. This is what is happening. The voices are going to converge in that new party. Those voices are very lethal. And that really is what I can tell you that party will be able to manage, will manage to achieve. There are 4 things that new party will manage to achieve. Either of this, it'll manage either the 4, 2, 1, or 3. But of these 4, that party can back a presidential candidate who can eventually upset Ruto. And not necessarily because it will have the best presidential candidate, no. It will have the potential of convincing the nation that William Ruto was a wrong choice for Kenya. Why? Why they will manage that is this, and this is how they will be able to manage that. That party will have a pool of bombshells, and it will run a highly oiled smear campaign against Ruto regime. And as I said before, that campaign is going to thrive on a higher believability. And that higher believability is brought by 2 things. Number 1, these people were inside the kitchen. Number 2, I believe you because I don't believe the other person. And let me tell you, not necessarily they will be saying the truth. Like I've told you, Mithika Linturi on that fake fertilizer is not saying the truth. I'm still gathering. We'll make it clear here. I'm not saying the truth. It's true Ruto is the one selling fertilizer, hiyo yenye imedonetiwa, sell fertilizer, nini. But that issue ya fake fertilizer, apana. That fake fertilizer, the person they took to court, the person they are charging that was selling fake fertilizer, that person was not even the one, and they shielded the real person. The third thing that party can achieve, that party will be able to dismantle that shaky Raila deal. And I take this to bank. Unless you don't live in Kenya, don't rule out Raila and Rigathi being on the same side. Don't rule out. Hey, I think for the past 3 years that I've been doing political analysis, and I think I've been in the media space for now like 8 years. Because I joined in 2016, yeah, during the Ruto Must Go protest. For that year, I've been doing political analysis. One thing this country have shown me is that don't say, in politics, never say never. And that party, it can become so strong that is a threat even to the ODM and the Raila Axis, the Raila Lift government enjoys that party. Lastly, it can sweep Mount Kenya MP slots and return Rigathi back to the table quickly, or rather immediately. Whoever wins that election will never again dismiss Mount Kenya. Ruto easily dismissed Mount Kenya because of the UDA. And for me, you want to call it tribal, our politics is still anchored on that. We are not yet out of that tribal hook. Let Rigathi anchor that party in Mount Kenya. Let him anchor it there. Mtu asikudanganye, ODM is Nyanza first. before any other place. Kesho